necessary act, so it is recorded there. Bring her before Jesus in front of her fellow Jews, her neighbors, and demand that Jesus answer a question. They state that Moses in the law said that such a one should be stoned because of her sin, her transgression of adultery. But then they say to Jesus, but what do you say? And already even in that questioning, they are putting themselves, trying to paint themselves, or at least have the populace see themselves as put upon a pedestal, as we follow the Mosaic law. And you follow the Mosaic law to the rest of the populace that was maybe entertaining Jesus that morning. You follow it too, because we've taught you what to think, how to feel about it, what to do. And Jesus is something new. And they're trying to paint it in a way where if Jesus would answer, depending on how that would be, it'd be contrary to the Mosaic law, contrary against it, or it would be against Rome. Either way, they think they have it sealed up and have his guilt and have his persuasive nature upon the people crushed and over with. But that's not the way it turns out. Jesus says, he that is without sin cast the first stone. We remember those words, right? And we spent time discussing how it may have been that Jesus referred to just any sin at all, any type of transgression at all. If you have one, you can't condemn this woman. You can't condemn her. Or it could be that Jesus was alluding to the fact that adultery was so prevalent even among God's shepherds, those who were Pharisees, Sadducees, those types, that adultery was so prevalent that oftentimes the man that was guilty of such, it was just overlooked. But they are convicted in their conscience. And that picks us up with verse 9. Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, they went out one by one, beginning with the oldest even to the last. And Jesus was left alone in the midst. Some transgressions, as we read about in these two, I think we got to read these two I have in my notes, are James 2 verses 10 and 11, where James says, do not commit adultery, do not murder. Now, if you do not commit adultery, but you do murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So seeing, and I don't know if the entire populace of Jewry during that time would understand and hold what James told later on about that old law. If you're guilty of one part, then you're guilty. Guilty is guilty. It doesn't matter if you happen to lie. It doesn't matter if you happen to be a murderer. There is guilt that God sees, right? Now, some transgressions carried about stiffer punishments. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 26. Cursed is the one who does not confirm all the words of this law by observing them. And all the people said, Amen. So the people, even in the giving of the law of Moses back during their wilderness wanderings, they all consented to being held to that standard and held to that law. Every piece of it they would keep. The heart, anyone who missteps has broken the law. And the reason for their bringing her, this woman, to Jesus at all was not to see God's law practiced and obeyed stringently. We might be able to give them a pass if that was at their heart. If they really wanted God's law kept stringently, and that was what they cared for, I might give them a pass. But that's not their heart. That's not their reasoning. That's not their motive that day. Rather, they tried to trap the Son of God. And whatever it was, their consciences were struck, and they could do nothing but walk away. Whatever it was. Whatever, if it was the words of Jesus, the fact that the crowd is all watching them, whatever it was that got to them, they could do nothing but walk away. lessons for us in what we have examined so far. There are times when brethren must step into the uncomfortable space of helping an erring brother or sister. Let me read that again. There are times when brethren must step into an uncomfortable space of helping an erring brother or sister. Notice that I did not say correcting an erring brother or sister. Why did I not say correcting my brother or sister? Where does correction take place? In that one's heart. Do you follow, Ken? Does that make sense? I can steer, I can teach, I can try to motivate and encourage, but the correction occurs from within. They make the choice to correct. Here, now perhaps we can see an example of how to and how to not go about this. Maybe that's one tangential thing we can see. One thing we can glean from this, how we can handle something like that, and how we ought not to handle something like that. If we would bring to light some sin of a brother or two with the spirit of, and here it is, what's in the heart, of self-justification, if that's why we would bring such to light, because we wish to self-justify, build ourselves up by cutting someone else down, have we fulfilled the law of Christ? And I answered that for all of you. We have not fulfilled the law of Christ. What is our motive for going to the erring brethren in the first place? What's the motive? The soul. And so, do we even need to ask the question, were they interested in her soul? Absolutely not. She was an item. She was a pawn, a tool. Mom.
I was going to say because you love your brother.
Exactly. So there was no love, there was no concern by the priestly types that day for this woman. Not at all.
Sir,
Yes?
they were more interested in tripping Jesus up in the wall than they were about her soul or anything else.
Exactly right. So, what I want for us to do is to try to take some application, sort of extrapolate that from this context and see it on a grander scale for us. Let's look at, and I think I have it up here, yes, Galatians 6 and verse 1. What is our motive for going to an erring brother or sister, or even a group of said erring brethren? If a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. And in the same breath, let us consider James chapter 2 and verse 13. For judgment is without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Jesus